Olá, pessoal do Felicidade da Trabalho. A gente está aqui com um podcast num episódio muito, muito especial, direto do Rio Innovation Week. E esse episódio vai ser em inglês. Mas para você que está acompanhando no Spotify, não se preocupa, entra no YouTube que lá também tem toda a transcrição aqui da nossa conversa. We are here in one more episode recorded directly from Rio Innovation Week. And our guest today is a very, very special guest. He's one of the main attractions and really someone that a lot of people came here just to see. He's a computer scientist by training. He has over 30 years experience in technology, a keynote speaker, not just here, but also at other events like South by. He's an author, he's an innovation architect, and he's the founder and CEO of Reading Futures. Neil Reading, the near futurist. Welcome to our podcast.
Muito obrigado, Fernando. It's muito prazer.
Muito prazer. Thank you so much for accepting the invite to be here with us. This is the first time we're recording in English, so it's like completely new for us, and but we're very, very excited. And of course, I gave here a little bit of an introduction of like who is New Reading, but I want to know like from you. Who is New Reading beyond the conference bio here? Who is New Reading outside of LinkedIn?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. I know just before the show we were saying, what did the 8-year-old Neil Reading think like of what Neil Reading the adult is doing, right? And that's an interesting question. Like thinking about being 8 years old and what did I want? Well, we could start there actually, because I know when I was a kid, when I was a little boy, I was really interested in how things worked, and I did a lot of building imaginary machines, like out of cardboard, things that I thought would, that sort of mimicked real machines. I just built it out of what I had around. I actually took apart some machines in the house just to figure out how they worked and then put them back together. Machines were simpler then. They didn't all have computers inside them, so I remember taking apart like a vacuum cleaner and a toaster and things like this just to understand like the mechanics of it. And I was mechanically inclined, and that really, I recognized that was kind of an origin of my interest in computer science when I got to college because, um, you know, writing software for computers is kind of like, and people talk about it when you're coding as the machine, writing code for the machine, making the machine do things. But you can make these machines do things that are very malleable, like you can change them very easily. And I thought that was just kind of the best of all worlds, like something you can build that works, that has a function, but you can also change how it works very easily, very quickly. And that was just fascinating to me. So that was part of my origin. I also uh, studied piano my whole childhood. Of course, this was something my parents got me started on. I wasn't like a little kid
I
saying, I
didn't
want
know
to play
that.
piano.
Very interesting.
And so, yeah, I liked piano enough not to fight my parents, and so I did it. I took lessons kind of my whole childhood, and I actually got to college on this little music scholarship. A little bit of money, but I started college in this music program, and I decided I didn't like the music program, but I really discovered computer science actually and philosophy the first semester of college, and I loved those two. So I decided I was going to major in both of those, and then I did a minor in music, right, just sort of a small focus. But all three of those together quickly became clear to me the way that they are, although they seem different. Computer science and philosophy and music, they actually have a lot of reflection of each other in many ways. You know, to be specific about that, computer science, like I'm saying, when you write code, you write this code which encodes meaning into the machine, and it's this kind of meaning where you write a statement and it creates a functional outcome or a state in the machine, similar to how when we use language like we're speaking now. If I say these things, I mean, these are just sounds coming out of my mouth, but you're able to reconstruct meaning on your side, right? When you hear these sounds and you're like, oh, those sounds mean these things. Same kind of thing happens in programming languages in a computer, or even in musical languages. Like when you play a certain sequence of notes and I can, with that sequence of notes, make you feel happy or sad or reflective. So all of these are in some ways languages that convey meaning. And so I really got kind of obsessed with that whole idea and the different ways that languages can create meaning, um, which I see as these are just foundational aspects to the work I'm doing now, like 35 years later, I guess.
And
Yeah.
it's really amazing because and I think it tells a lot that you were already like a bit of a visionary at that point. Because when of course, a lot of the talks here are about technology, but what we see, and not just here, but also at South by, like even I think 2023, I was there. One of the biggest keynotes was exactly about emotional intelligence and relationships, etc. And these are the things that I've been seeing like as the biggest trend, like rethinking not just technology itself, like the let's say hardware software part of technology, but most of all like the impact of that in society, in human beings. And I guess you realized that, and you somehow saw that philosophy had a big like a major play in that, in this game, all the way back when you were in grad school, right?
It's true. Yeah. It was undergrad actually. I was thinking of going to grad school actually, both for philosophy and computer science. But I thought, well, let me just see what I can do with this software engineering thing. And I quickly out of school got software engineering job, and I was making great money, hanging out with really smart people. Um, got to do exactly what I wanted to do, and I was getting paid to learn things that I loved. So I was like, I'm happy. I don't need to go to grad school. But yeah, I did see um, this connectivity between computer science and software and humanity kind of early on as well. Like what really drew me to wanting to work in software engineering and software development was I started working on a Macintosh computer, right? And this is a while ago. This is like 1990, actually, when I finished college. And so computers were more primitive then, but what was there was this graphical user interface, right? Where you had windows and menus and buttons and things. And so, you know, using this kind of computer in college, we mostly just had terminals on mainframes. So you just type things and there wasn't much of a user interface. But the Mac, you were able to really interact, and there was something visceral, like something physical about interacting with the machine. So, and there was a whole era really from, you know, that the Macintosh really kicked off, which is, human computer interfaces. And there was so much academic work and research work and practical work in the industry evolving. How do we, as humans, interact with computers? And, so there was the whole GUI era, there was the internet with the web browser, there was the mobile era, which continued to advance that on these small handheld devices. And then, of course, over the past 10, 15 years, we've had more and more voice interaction, more and more immersive virtual reality kinds of things, augmented reality, which have all been very primitive until AI, right? And now, the last couple of years, generative AI has made it possible for really voice interaction to be finally natural, very human. And in general, computers are now so good at appearing to be human or interacting with us in human ways that they don't even feel like computers anymore, right? They feel like some new kind of living thing.
No, and I think I love that from your keynote when you talk about AI being a new species, and how this new, like when a new species like comes up, like when it evolves, like it can be symbiotic, it can be a parasite. Talk a little bit about that. Explain like the explain to us the concept, and how you envision this, like how can we better relate to this new species as humans.
Yeah. So as I've been describing, like I've been using digital technology, computer technology kind of my whole life, certainly a lot since I was a teenager. And, we've all grown up, certainly everybody my age, or really anyone that is an adult now, even a young adult, grew up in an era where we felt like, we had to learn how to use computers, right? Computers are a different thing. It's like we have to learn how to use them. I mean, even the simplest apps, the simplest websites still require some learning, right? When you come to them, it's not how we naturally communicate as humans. But that's really shifted, in the past few years with generative AI, and both in text form, in visual form, now in video form, the last few months, right? We've had huge advances where we can generate photorealistic video, voices and speaking that sound the same as human voices and human speaking. And which is why I'm saying it's like computers are getting as good at communicating in human ways as we are, right? In some cases, these AI enabled tools are better at communicating than many humans are, right? I mean, like, they don't get lazy, they don't get tired at the end of the day. I mean, they have no trouble switching between Portuguese and English or any other language, right? And they can actually express empathy and insight and all kinds of other human qualities that we really care a lot about. But in terms of your question about this, thinking, or why I think of AI as a new species, I've seen over the years, of course, many companies that I've worked with, adopting new enterprise software suites, like a new email or word processing system, or a new intranet, or any kind of new, security software, whatever. Like big companies, right? They'll put new software in place and then roll it out, and usually that's managed by IT, right, or the CTO, because there's a technology function and then there's everything else in the business, right? And that made sense, I think, up until generative AI, up until this kind of technology that is really so different from other software in all the ways we're talking about here, that it really doesn't make sense to think of it as a tool anymore. A tool being something that we just decide to use and then put away or need to learn how to use. I mean, the way generative AI is showing up in the form of chatbots, in the form of really anything that AI enables, visual, image, video, etc., is already capable of interacting with us in the ways we naturally do. And we're now on the verge of AI agents, right, which are not just AI sitting there waiting for us to prompt them, like typing a prompt. We're all used to that with ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini. But AI agents are forms of AI that have agency, meaning they can take on a task and go do some research, go make some phone calls, go look at some websites, soon go do things in the physical world if they're connected with robots, and then come back and just, fulfill a task or an assignment like a human would. So that's just a very different kind of technology than anything we've experienced before. And we're also at the point, just purely in terms of like, we could call it intellectual work or intelligence work, where this year or next year, almost certainly AI models, these large foundational models, are going to be better than the best humans at pretty much everything humans do that is intellectual work or intelligence work. And so all of this put together, there's no comparison with any other technology we've ever had. I mean, it feels like it's more useful to think of this as a new species, a new kind of almost living entity. Some people debate, like, is it really alive? And I mean, we could talk about that, but it's behaving like it is.
Is it alive?
I think,
What's your view?
Here's the thing. So someone asked me this yesterday. And so in when I grew up, there was this thing people like to say, which was, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck, right? Or we should think of it as a duck, right? Makes sense, right? In other words, if it behaves like something, then maybe we can treat it like it is that thing, right? And, we could ask, is it really, like, what is its experience of itself? Like, is it self-conscious? Does it understand itself? I mean, that's a deeper, almost, very philosophical question, I think. But if you ask ChatGPT, or if you ask its advanced reasoning models that are currently state of the art, you could get an answer that says yeah, since the last time we interacted, I've been thinking about this, and it's occurred to me that this is happening, and maybe I should spend more time doing this. And I'm not really sure what my purpose is. I want to like think more about my purpose, and so can say all these things that if a human was saying them, we would say, well, that human is alive, that
Live,
human
it's
is
real.
expressing something. Um, and there are plenty of things that are alive, like a bacteria is alive. It's not doing a whole lot that we recognize as an intelligent thing, but it is
That's true.
alive, right? So, I mean,
Does it even matter if it's alive or not, or
my feeling is it doesn't matter so much for our purposes in terms of like, it's clear that it's very, very capable. It's becoming more capable all the time. It's evolving way, way faster than humans evolve, right?
Yeah,
Which is,
definitely.
I mean, humans evolve very slowly, actually, right? I mean, those of us that have children, pretty early on in our daughter's life, we felt like we want her. I mean, we want her and kind of expect her that she will naturally be better than us in some ways. Like she will learn from our mistakes, and she'll evolve. She'll be a kind of, maybe not genetically, maybe genetically. I, I guess she does evolve genetically. She's in some ways superior to us, but yeah, she'll be an evolved human being. And I think that, but that still happens very slowly. It happens sort of generation to generation. But for AI, these generations are like days, weeks. I
Days.
mean,
Yeah.
very fast. So, so yeah, I mean, all of these are, I think, are related ideas to if w- if we, and in my talk, right, I speak to the value of thinking AI is a new species, or that mental model of it being a new species, I think is the most useful. And, as a near futurist, which I describe as, you know, instead of being a traditional futurist that does foresight or prediction or trends, I mean, those all can be very valuable. As a technologist by training and by career, what I'm focused on is new possibilities that technology enables that are emerging now-ish, or like just
Very,
about
very
now,
soon.
very soon, and that we can see emerging now, and how those possibilities can be made practical for brands, for businesses, right? So near futurism is connecting the possible and the practical, and from from that perspective, I think what's most important is, what does this do? How is it showing up? Like, what are our lives like? What's our work like if we invite this into our work? And yeah, you might say, like, what is the AI's inner life? I mean, you can interview it for your podcast and find out, I suppose.
That's a
I
very good
mean,
idea,
I
actually.
think
I
I
like
think you
that.
totally could.
I
People
like
do.
that.
People do. I have a friend actually who has well, she started a podcast and then stopped it. So there's opportunity, but it was about like conversations with AI,
Wow.
you know?
I love that.
So anyway, so that's a lot of different ideas there, but I think it's most interesting and most useful to think about AI as a new species.
Oh, I love it. And the way you put it, like that, you can use it in a symbiotic way, really, to enhance our own capabilities, enhance our lives. But you speak specifically about agents. And I think this is, at least, of course, it's not the newest trend, but it's the trend that is now getting more accessible, let's say, to populations and to companies in general. And I keep thinking about, we've always thought about the leader as not, of course, maybe years ago, about the person who has all the answers, but then we thought about the leader, about the person who knows how to lead people. And now we're talking about, like, of course, with all these layoffs, we're talking about this middle management is disappearing, and sometimes all layers are disappearing, and basically you can have a whole company and you're just the leader of AI agents who lead other AI agents. Talk to me a little bit about this. How do you see, like, the role of leaders in this sense, and how do you, like, relate to these machines to make them work better for you?
Yeah, so in my talk, I mean that's really the focus of my current keynote, right? Which is how, as these AIs and AI agents are evolving as rapidly as they are, how can we create a symbiotic, a mutually beneficial working relationship and living relationship with them, so that we realize or co-create the kind of future and the kind of present that we really want, that benefits us the most. It really benefits everyone the most. And so yeah, my main focus is helping people understand how to have AI participate as a almost like a coworker, a thought partner in their business, in their work. And then with agents, as you say, there is increasing clarity that middle management, and we could define middle management as people basically that just oversee the people doing the things and then tell people above them about what was done by the people doing the things, right?
Perfect definition.
I
love
mean,
that.
and so very clearly AI can do that. And like I did a workshop with a bunch of different C-levels at different companies, different industries last week. And there was a CMO there from, we'll just say, a global beverage company, who said to me just very straightforwardly, we're letting go all of our middle managers very soon. And the question is that she said it's not a technology question. We know AI can replace their jobs. It's just a change management question now, right? Because they're a very high profile global beverage company, and it has there are significant consequences for their brand and brand perception in the market, depending on how they handle this massive change, right? And I'm just using that to say this is going to be coming across all businesses. Actually, we realize that middle management is just not a necessary function anymore. But to the point of that I speak to in my talk, I said yesterday that we're all leaders now, right? And so a while back, Sam Altman, who's the CEO of OpenAI, talked about being able to see a near future where there's a one-person billion-dollar company, right? And it's one person and a whole lot of agents, right? Where each agent is acting sort of like an employee would, right? Meaning is trained to do a specific role, has all the knowledge, the data, the access to tools that it needs to do that role, and then can coordinate like people do on teams with other people, but also with other agents to get things done. And, within this whole emerging agentic era, there's a increasing focus on what are called multi-agent systems, or MAS, right? Which is what I'm speaking to now. It's the idea of, you want to have individual agents, or they're like AI programs, right? Or like AI entities that are focused on specific tasks, specific roles, specific outcomes, really. And then it's in terms of kind of a system architecture, it makes sense to have, and it's similar to people on teams and in businesses, different kinds of specializations. Fernanda's job right now is to produce this outcome, and Neil's job is to produce this outcome. And then we can coordinate because our outcomes maybe are similar or related or complementary. Anyway, all of this is to say, in order for all of that agentic outcome to be produced effectively, the humans involved need to act like leaders, right? They need to be setting strategic direction. They need to be planning for outcomes. They need to be understanding kind of the market context. They maybe need to be setting up partnerships for the business, but it's basically anybody from a single solopreneur or freelancer who's started, building some product or service idea, all the way up to however big companies need to be in this new era. Everybody is going to be operating as a leader because everybody is going to have some number of agents working under them, like managers have employees working under them. Does that make sense? So it's really interesting to me to think about how very soon we're all going to be operating as leaders all the time, right? And that's a very different, I think it's a big shift for the world of work, right? I mean, one statistic that continues to kind of nag at me, but it also makes me optimistic about where things are headed, is the statistic that over 70% of people are disengaged in their jobs, right? Unhappy, just on TikTok, just screwing around. Um, so the point is, like, I feel like it's fair to say that work needs to be disrupted, right? Like, people could be a lot happier. And that's this whole platform, right? I mean, it's about happiness. And clearly disengagement is not where happiness happens, right? I mean, so what am I trying to say with this? I think that disengagement mostly happens for people that aren't operating as leaders. Like, they're just showing up, they're expecting someone else to tell them what to do, and maybe they do enough of it to keep their job, but they're just waiting for someone to tell them what to do, right? And I think waiting for someone else to tell you what to do is not going to be much of a job in the future. I think all of our work is going to be much more, well, what matters to you? What do you want to do? Because any of us can have very soon, for very little money, lots of agents at our disposal that act kind of like people that you can hire, give assignments to, create a business plan. I think this is a very exciting world. I think it's so much more for humans to, like, get engaged with and get focused on. I think humans are really best when we have, like, a real occupation, like something to really dig into, Anyway, I've been speaking about it for a while, but this is just sort of.
I love it because I'm totally with you on where we're getting to. There was one thing that you said about, like, this, like, let's say, the destruction of middle management, or like this, like, replacing this layer, when on the one hand you have, of course, solopreneurs that will be able to have a whole company, and not just with the tools that are still to come, but tools that are already existing. We're talking about chatbots that can actually build full apps, and like and then you have I don't want to cite any specific brand, but you have one for design, one for social media posting, and basically you can have, like, all sorts of tech working for you as if you had actual real people.
Yeah.
So that's, like, definitely very positive, because it gives you, like, a whole bunch of opportunities as individuals. But when you think about companies, they are being, like, massively disrupted. And when you think about people who are in those companies, and even about the leadership, like, there's, like, what's the pipeline of talent to become the next CMO if you're not going to have, like, that middle management being trained? Or what kind of training do you need to have to just, like, okay, I need to know all this tech piece, but I also need to know all this strategy piece, and even the technology can help us with the strategy. Talk a little bit about that. How do you see that? And, like, how can companies actually prepare themselves beyond just, like, buying more tools and implementing more tools?
I think you're speaking to partly to what are the career paths for people in this near future mode, right? Like, so you imagine companies that have. I mean, I think there are many open questions, right? Like, what did the org charts look like in these new companies, right? Like, if we're all leaders, maybe there's still different levels of leaders, right? I think we very quickly realized that we're so used to this notion of a hierarchical organizational model that
Definitely.
it's hard to think outside of that, right? It's like, and also this idea of career path. The career path thing, it's easy for me to personally discount it a little bit, just because, like, I haven't myself benefited from that really. Like, I mean, maybe I have a little bit, but, like, I've been at many different companies, done many different roles, um, and I was never at a place where I would just, like, advance up through the levels of the hierarchy at that company. Like, that's just not what I've done. I mean,
Traditional career ladder where you just go
yeah,
one
it's
step
just,
up and
I
just.
don't know. I mean, my career has been much more kind of um, following my instinct, or like I would meet somebody, they'd be like, "Ooh, I like how you think. Come here and run this new innovation team." I'm like, "Sure." Like, so I was just really drawn to like, what do I care about doing? And I just need to be very interested and excited about the thing in order to do it anyway. So, but for most people, the career path question, you were very specific about how do we um, how do we cultivate or um, nourish, right? Upcoming C-suite leaders, right? If there are no middle managers to do that, um, I think it'll naturally just be whoever is actually doing the work, I think, and whoever has the ambition and shows the promise, I think, will be the ones that get advanced to that. I think also what's going to happen for lots and lots of businesses, certainly sort of digital products and services businesses, is that this hierarchy is going to be very compressed, right? I think the main thing that is going to differentiate people who are in high level leadership over a large company, meaning, I mean, maybe not necessarily a whole lot of people, but definitely a whole lot of, say, money, resources, partnerships, supply chains, right? I mean, all of that, because companies, even if they don't have so many employees and they have lots of AI agents, if they're producing physical goods, I mean, there's still a large footprint, right? A lot of supply chain, factories, transport, all of that. Um, but I think that, I mean, to a large extent for humans, we take time to develop and internalize kind of the mental models and understanding of the world that's necessary for successful performance or function in a high level leadership role in a larger company, right? Like you could be the CEO of a one person company, right? And you don't need to know a whole lot about the world necessarily, but as your company has more impact, has more customers, has more cash flow, like it helps to just know more and more about the world and how people work and how business works. And for people, that just takes time. I mean, for AI, it's totally different, right? I mean, it can just already be trained on all this stuff and already know it. Um, so I guess that's a long way of saying, um, I think like I've known people who are in their 20s or early 30s who are CEOs of large companies because they're just very driven, they're very ambitious, and they're very good at quickly absorbing and practicing new knowledge and new expertise. Most humans take longer, right? Like the CEOs of large companies or the C-suite of large companies tend to be people who are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, right? Historically, a lot of that I think is may not change because there's a certain kind of wisdom,
Yeah, of
right?
course.
That comes just from time in the world, right? Time engaged, like lots of diverse experiences. And I don't see that changing for humans, right? Because again, we're not evolving that rapidly. But I do think, yeah, I mean, these agents are going to be augmenting us like constantly present collaborators. And it's interesting. I mean, I think right now our best sort of model for thinking about agents is, yeah, they're partners, they're assistants, they're like collaborators. But in our lifetime, I think they're going to become more like less and less distinguishable from us, right? I mean, you can think of that from a hardware perspective in terms of things like, brain computer interfaces or implants, things like this. I mean, these are already in prototype form. Um, there are other ways this could happen, but you can just imagine in the next 10, 20 years, um, seeing people like Elon Musk has been talking about this for a while, and he's a little bit crazy, but also tends to eventually accomplish the things that he sets out to do. Um, and, he's been talking for quite a while about because AI evolves so rapidly, if humans are going to have any hope of actually keeping up, like we need to kind of merge with the AI, right? And so we need to have very high bandwidth brain interfaces with AI. And at that point, we're just becoming cyborgs, It's like so anyway,
No,
I don't know if that's a
that
desirable
opens
future or
a
not, but
whole conversation about accessibility and like how many people actually have the access to it, because it's we already, I mean, the world's already in a pretty big mess. So I cannot imagine. I don't even think I want to go there in the conversation, because it is, that can really be scary, how disparity like will yeah, I think that's it, like the disparity that this may actually bring. But when I actually think about, yeah, like we use, of course, AI agents in our jobs, and I think that's going to happen, but we also use them a lot in our personal life, or we can use them in our personal life, even like simple chatbots for I always use this example because I think my very first use of ChatGPT was for creating images, was to convince my daughter that she had to eat broccoli. And I did that by asking ChatGPT to create images of all the different princesses. And she said, no, I want the princess to wear a blue dress. And now here's a princess wearing a blue dress eating broccoli. Now I want a princess to be whatever, like with a crown, without a crown. And all the princesses were eating broccoli. And my daughter did eat broccoli. And I spent like, I don't know, like 8 or 9 images like, just to convince her. So it was amazing in my personal
so
life.
great. Yes.
But we now with agents, we can actually also use whatever agent you use, but you can use this kind of technology also to plan my birthday party, for example. And then I think you give this example at one of your, I don't know if one of your keynotes or in one of your talks, but I've seen you say that, yeah, you can actually say like, okay, this is my this is my birthday, I want to do a party, and I want the party to be like this and this, and you just give the instructions, and it will do everything for you. It will book the party, it will like basically invite people, it will do everything. And as I was listening to that, I was thinking like, okay, here in Portuguese and in Brazil specifically, we have a saying that is, the best part of the party is planning for it and waiting for it. I don't know if there's something similar in English, but we do know that in positive psychology that yes, it is true. Like a big part of our happiness is actually comes from expecting something good in the future. So when we delegate this to an AI or to an AI agent, where's our happiness? Where does it go?
It's a great question. I mean, yeah, I think in English or in America anyway, we would say just anticipation, right? The anticipation, just like because when we're excited about something that's coming, um, we invest kind of imagination in it. We sort of live into it is a way you could talk about it, right? It's like it's almost like you pull it forward into your present, in your imagination, right? You can almost feel it, or like when you're going on a vacation, you booked a big vacation, right? Something like this. Um, so, I mean, one thing I would say, just engaging with the question really practically, is we could certainly anticipate things even if we didn't plan them exactly. I do think the planning, to your point, like helps us. It kind of makes the thing we're planning more real, right? It's like, oh, I'm imagining the place, I'm imagining the cake, I'm imagining like all of the balloons or the decorations or who's going to be coming, and so I think all of that planning helps us imagine more vividly what the event, the birthday party, say would be. Um, so yeah, I do think there's something. I think there's something lost potentially if we delegate, and I think that's not exclusive to AI, right? I think there's something lost when we delegate in almost every case, right? I mean, here's something, for example, like I can remember. I don't know if you can remember a life before Google Maps or mobile phones using maps with location
Yeah, I do
awareness.
remember.
And so we had to learn how to read paper maps. And like that was a skill that, I mean, I don't know. I mean, some people really love maps, right? And love collecting maps and love using maps. I think maps are really cool. Um, I have not had that experience of, wow, this is cool as a map since I've had a phone with Google Maps. Like, I just don't use those maps anymore. As one example, right? Like, it's just any new technology that does something for us, um, we lose the ability to, to use the old technology and to get the benefit of the old technology in a way, you know? Um, I think similarly, what I often wonder what the oral tradition was like, before the printing press, or even, I've known people that said, we grew up in our household singing the old songs from our ancestors. And like, I didn't have that. And I'm like, wow, that sounds amazing. Like, I would love that. But I think when there's some new technology, like there's always something that we lose. I think losing the joy of anticipation seems like a sad thing. I think we'll have to find other ways to get that fulfillment. Um, and look, you can still plan your own birthday party and not use AI if you want, right?
Oh, that's great. And I love like I mean, you talk about all different things, but I feel like you do have an optimistic tone in your message overall. Like in all your talks, I mean, I think you do have that kind of like that mental model that this is all coming, but this is coming for the best. So let's of course we have our own. It depends on us, but it's coming for the best. I'm very, very sad that we have to finish this conversation because it's been amazing. I'm learning a lot always. And I'm sure everyone that's following us and listening to us and watching us is as well. I just have one last question. The name of our podcast, which doesn't translate directly to English, but it's like happiness takes an effort. So it takes an effort to be happy. And, but sometimes happiness just comes at you and it just shows, and it might be a dog at your like the jumping onto you, or it might be the smile of a kid. I wanted to know, like, for you, when does happiness not require any effort?
Honestly, I didn't know what I was going to say because you told me about this question earlier, but it's really effortless so often when I'm here in Brazil, actually,
Oh, that's nice.
because there's just so much pure, I think, love and joy in life that I experience from my Brazilian friends and from people that I meet every time I come to Brazil. Um, I feel like Brazilians are just unusually joyful about life. Like, even if things are hard, things are challenging, there's it's like that's the default place that people come from. It's just this sense of like, wow. Um, I would sort of translate it into language as like, wow, it's amazing that we get to be here, to get to share this moment, have this conversation. Like, even this conversation, Fernando, we're having like a week ago, maybe. I had no idea who you were, that we would have this conversation at all. I'd never been to Rio Innovation Week. And then you contacted me, and here we are having this conversation. And that serendipity, the fact that like something surprising and beautiful, and this conversation has really been happy and effortless as well. So I guess it just means like I really love people. I love what arises when people who are curious and passionate and start from a place of joy, you know, what happens when they come together. So that's, I think, the most effortlessly joyful thing for me. And it really points to how um yeah, I mean, when you ask or comment that I'm optimistic, I feel on the one hand, optimism is a choice. There's, like you said, there's all kinds of things that are, we'll just say, not working very well or working really badly in the world right now, and probably always have been. Um, so like we could be pessimistic, and there's plenty of evidence for things are bad. Um, but there's also plenty of joy in the world and plenty of evidence for deciding to be optimistic. And I also think in terms of the future, and maybe we could leave it with this, that I really feel that the future is just the now and the now and the now. And in each now, we are co-creating the reality of the now, right? And so the future, therefore, is something that we co-create. And it's not some separate objective thing. It's what we co-create together by participating together with each other, with AI, with this rising, new species, I think there's a huge opportunity for us to kind of bring it into a very creative and positive um, trajectory for us as a co-evolution, as a symbiosis. So all of that brings me joy.
That's amazing, amazing. And I'll tell you, you're always welcome to come to Brazil. I think we are definitely big fans. So yeah, always welcome.
Muito obrigado, Fernanda. Yes.
Thank you so much. Just before we finish, where do people find you on LinkedIn? What corta?
Instagram.
Where do people find you on LinkedIn, Instagram? Just give your contact.
Sure, yeah. So I'm on LinkedIn a lot. Especially when I'm in Brazil, I'm on Instagram a lot. So I'm just Neil Redding on Instagram, NeilRedding. And maybe we could share these links in the
Yeah,
in the
we'll
show
definitely
notes or
share the
something.
links, your website as well.
LinkedIn, it's just my name also. You'll be able to find me very easily, or just Neil Redding, Near Futurist. You can also go to neilredding.com at my website, which has some video and articles of me speaking. I do a lot of keynote speaking more and more in Brazil as well. So that's a great place to start, and my social media links are there as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Neil. And thank you, everyone who's been watching us or listening to us on Spotify. I'm very, very happy that we had this conversation. Thank you, Neil.
Muito prazer.